secret invasion, or you want to convene on Thursdays and talk
Shoot
about
the
more
shit.
stuff? Let us know.
Talk about Jonathan Majors
Ooh-wee.
losing
Ooh-wee.
more shit and having more accusations and
Yeah, man, a lot of this stuff is really weird to me because before, the only people that were talking or letting out any information was the defense, right? It was all Jonathan Majors. Okay, she recanted. Okay, well, Jonathan Majors called the police.
okay, we
Okay,
have
we have
this.
text. Yeah, we have text, right? And so it's been all from their side with the information. It felt like, even though some of that didn't land necessarily the way that they wanted it to,
Sure.
it felt like the DA felt like they had to beef up their case. They needed to strengthen their case because I would venture to guess that some of the stuff that they have presented thus far was substantial enough that the DA had to build their case, had to add something to it. Because there was no talk about this being a pattern of behavior with Jonathan Majors prior to this. Then all of a sudden, after we have all this information, we've got a video that proves it. We got an eyewitness that says that Jonathan Majors never struck her, right? And that she was actually hitting him trying to get his phone. We also have all these pictures of her out clubbing, doing things with her right hand that's supposed to have a broken finger,
Mm.
right? It's a lot of circumstances, nothing that is definitive until we actually see it or actually hear the testimonies. But if everything checks out to what they says it is, it's a pretty strong case in the defense. So now it sounds like the prosecutor is beefing up their case by trying to find some other former partners of Jonathan Majors to corroborate what was said initially. Because again, this is all for a victim who has now twice recanted their story, their initial statement, and is low key proven that she lied. Right? Like, it's one thing to take those text messages the text messages that we saw with no other context and say, man, that kind of sounds like abusee language. Like, it sounds like she's apologizing for getting hit. But then let's add the context of what she said her injury, or what she claimed her injuries were. She claimed that she had a broken finger to the police and that she had a laceration behind her ear. Now, there's nothing that we can see or that has been presented about the ear laceration. But in terms of the finger, now, I don't know if any of y'all have ever had a broken finger. I've had a couple. I don't usually drink with that hand, nor do I brush or comb my hair or fumble through my wallet to pick out things,
Sure.
pay for drinks, work or surf the internet on my phone. Wouldn't necessarily be doing that hours later after having a broken finger, much less without a cast or any type of splint.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not hopping either which way. I want to see the tape from the back of the cab. I want to hear the cab driver's eyewitness testimony. According to Jonathan Majors' lawyer, the cab driver heard Jonathan Majors ask to be let out of the car. He got out of the car. Jonathan Majors shows back up to his apartment that his now ex-girlfriend went back to after her night of a bender at the clubs in New York, right? Goes back to his place where he wasn't even staying that night to avoid her. He goes back in the morning and finds her passed out at the floor of his closet. This is all according to Jonathan Majors' lawyer. Finds her passed out at the foot of her closet. When he's able to get her to, he says she took some sleeping pills. Now, ask yourself, if you're a decent human being, you know this person been out drinking all night, they just told you that they took some drugs along with that alcohol, and you found their vomit on your bed, because that was in the report as well, the vomit on your bed, and her passed out in front of your closet, not by the bed, by a walk-in closet probably. Okay, so I'm thinking something the fuck is wrong, and the last thing I want is for somebody to die in my apartment.
Yep.
So what would a decent and or reasonable person do at that point?
Call the police.
Okay, and that's what Jonathan Majors did.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he did.
Yep.
Verified that he was the one who called the police.
Mm-hmm.
So again, as much as everybody wanted to speculate about what seems so clear coming out of those text messages, like, oh man, this isn't good. This isn't what innocence looks like. I want to hear the same thing about all of this. I want to hear the same energy. Don't get quiet on me now. You were loud and you were proud about not proud, excuse me. You were loud about telling us how all of this stuff was clearly abuser behavior. That's language of an abused woman who's apologizing for what she feels like she did wrong to get abused. You were very strong about that. Right? Okay. So now, if that same victim claimed they had a broken hand to the police, broken finger to the police, which led to all of this, and we can somehow prove that didn't happen. This person said that they were hit and assaulted. If we have video evidence that Jonathan Majors never touched her, never even struck her, now what does that do to your idea about what everything is said in there? Now it just sounds like somebody who really fucked up and knows they really fucked up. And now they're trying to walk it back to minimize the damage.
Yeah. I mean, especially with all that evidence, there's a reasonable doubt there.
Yeah, no, they still might be right about the whole thing. But the fact that people don't leave a window open for you to be wrong about what you think you know with the little bit of information that we have is crazy to me from so-called intellectuals. From so-called intellectuals lamenting the fact like, oh, this happens all the time and this is very common and I know people and I've spoken to people and I've done research. None of that amounts to anything if you don't have the proper context.
Sure.
That will lead you to categorizing an innocent man. So now let's talk about the people who are helping the DA though, right? Because that's not nothing. That's not nothing. We didn't start out talking about a pattern of behavior. And now, if they've established one, that's something completely different.
Yeah.
Now we do have to look at it differently. My thing about it is that number one, whoever they've added, because they said multiple, so that could literally mean two, but whoever they've added to cooperate with the case, to corroborate what they were told initially by the witness, by the quote unquote victim. Something tells me, and again, this is me speculating. This wasn't in the reports by TMZ. This isn't anything I've heard or anything that I know. Something tells me that the nature that they're coming forth about isn't physical. The reason why I said that is because we've already kind of heard whisperings about Jonathan Majors maybe not being the nicest person, being a bit of a tyrant, right? True or untrue, it would certainly make sense that there are some disgruntled exes out there based on what we've already heard about Jonathan Majors, right? Like that's not out of the realm of possibility. Mm-hmm. Where I think it becomes a little bit more damning is if they have stories of physical abuse.
Yes.
If they have verified, provable stories about abuse from Jonathan Majors, that changes the complexity of the situation, because now you have to look at the situation with a little bit more scrutiny. Yep. Is this a situation that's been buttoned up to look neat now that you have a victim who's corroborating with you? Or is this really a case of somebody trying to be vindictive against you and pushing it too far? And now we've dug up some things that can actually make it look worse than what it actually is. If he has some disgruntled ex-girlfriends who he never laid a finger on, it doesn't really do anything to move the needle to me. Where it becomes a problem, where it becomes something that's a little bit more damning in my eyes personally, is if they have some sort of story that corroborates what was originally told from the girlfriend.
I would agree. At the very least, it would change the perspective of Jonathan Majors going into it, which changes, like you said, changes the whole scope of everything. William Moloch says if he's innocent, we got to talk about what acting like a victim means, because a lot of people keep saying that the lady is acting that way.
If he's found innocent, he should immediately draft a lawsuit against this woman. Immediately. People have to feel the weight of false accusations as much as people have to feel the weight of consequences for sexual assault. It has to be. Otherwise, you create this whammy card
Mm-hmm.
that you can essentially throw at anyone you choose, and most of all affected this demographic right here.
Sure.
Already proven, long history of it, don't need to dredge through the examples, right? There are many, even to this day.
Yep. People's lives have been ruined by it. Just accusations.
Have been taken over this.
Mm-hmm.
Not just ruined, not just lost a job. People have died over shit like this.
Sure.
So, as much as we want to protect the women in our communities from sexual violence or undue sexual advances from men or women who would do them harm, we have to be equally as tough on people who bring these accusations falsely and drum up the level of concern that should be given to a sexual assault victim. You should have a very active and vigorous response to someone accusing sexual assault. And it's for that reason that a person who is found to give, or I keep saying sexual assault, an assault against a woman, a domestic assault, something like anything like that, right? We should have a visceral response to something like that.
Well, sexual assault would be the same thing.
Well, not necessarily. Domestic violence and sexual assault are not necessarily the same thing.
No, those are not the same thing. I'm saying the response to it should be.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. It should be the same thing. Should be the same thing. But you have to. It's for that reason, because you're going to respond in such a way that if a person is found to have falsely brought claims like that, they should be punished.
Yep.
Absolutely, they should be punished. Because the ramifications of that accusation, number one, I will have to deal with regardless of whether or not I'm proven innocent or not. Yep. He's never getting the Army commercial back. Yep. Right? The talent agency that dropped him is not going to pick him back up immediately after these charges are either dropped or he's found innocent.
The movie role he lost, the Texas Rangers ads.
That stuff is gone. Right? He'll have to work to get that stuff back. That is the reason why Amber Heard owes Johnny Depp $12 million. Because she cost that man millions of dollars. And we only talking about money at this point. When you're talking about a black man, you could be talking about his life for freedom.
Absolutely.
So you absolutely have to be as hard on it one way as you are the other. To keep people being as hard on violence against women and sexual assault as they are today. If you think it's a good thing where we ended up post Me Too, you should want the false accusers to be brought out and punished to the fullest degree. Because now there's no excuse to double back and be like, see, look at all these examples of people bringing these false claims. This is why you shouldn't believe them. This validates that type of nonsense. Well, potentially.
Yeah.
Potentially.